I do not see any insolence of caste. I do not see why any insolence of caste should prevent the gifted class, which he calls white folk, when they have the power, from treating their counter-patriots with kindness, so long as they maintain celibacy. In other words, so long as they don't have no children. But if these continue to procreate children inferior in moral, intellectual, and physical qualities, it is easy to believe that the time may come when these people will be considered as enemies to the state and have forfeited all claims to kindness. In other words, in nitty-gritty talk, we'll treat the colored folk right as long as they stop having children. But if they keep having children, then there's nothing to stop us from considering them a threat to national security. And brothers and sisters, believe it or not, that's what it's boiling down to. There's a woman named Margaret Sanger, who is a member of the American Eugenics Society and the English Eugenics Society. And she wrote a book entitled The Pivot of Civilization. And Margaret Sanger, by the way, is also the founder of something called Planned Parenthood. Have y'all heard that before? I'll deal with that in a few minutes. Margaret Sanger says these words in her book, The Pivot of Civilization, and I quote, she says, "Those who are least fit to carry on the race are increasing most rapidly." Y'all listen to this. Funds that should be used to raise the standard of our civilization are diverted to the maintenance of those who should never have been born. See, people, it's there. But then again, we don't read, do we? We don't go pick up these books and read. In fact, you know what's really tragic about it? The only book that over 90% of black folk read is the Bible. You can applaud, yeah, because of the truth. I know it's not good news. But if you're not in college or doing assignments, the only book that the majority of our people read is the Bible. And that's why we're being destroyed. Well, after Hitler's program, race building by voluntary unconscious selection took place. The book goes on to say, people, and then in parentheses, I have here Negroes. Who did I say? Negroes. Who do you think they're talking about? I want to be sure y'all with me now. Who are they talking about? Black people, right? It goes on to say, people simply are not willing to accept the idea that the genetic base on which their character was formed is inferior and should not be repeated in the next generation. Good God Almighty. I got to take my time and make this plain to y'all here. It goes on to say, we have asked whole groups of people to accept this idea, and we have asked individuals to accept it. They simply won't accept the idea that they are in general second rate. Good God Almighty. We must rely on other motivation. It is surely possible to build a system of voluntary unconscious selection. In other words, you don't know the real agenda behind something, so therefore you go running off into it. Goes on to say, but the reasons advanced must be generally acceptable reasons. Let's stop telling them that they have a generally inferior genetic quality, for they will never agree, and perhaps our proposals will be accepted. What proposals are we talking about here? We're talking about proposals that these eugenicists make to the United States Congress, House of Representatives, when they bring bills to the floor. These proposals that these eugenicists make to the United Nations World Council, proposing that certain inferior people be eliminated. After the release of the bell curve, the American Psychological Association convened a task force of experts to address the realities of intelligence, culminating in a publication of a consensus report in 1995, and the name of this report is called Intelligence, Knowns and Unknowns. The American Psychological Association, African people, y'all hear what I'm getting ready to tell you. The American Psychological Association declared in their report, they determined as a collective of experts, and I quote,